Please find your seats. We would like to begin in 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin in just 2-3 minutes. Please find your seats. Thank you. In the meantime, you can get a l'chaim before you sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. I want to thank you all for taking your time on Erev Pesach on a busy time to come and attend the Shloshim gathering in memory of our father. There's plenty of seats in the front. Please come and join us in the front. While the Shloshim gathering is not about hespedim, not about eulogies, you're going to have some speakers share their memories of my father. Most importantly, because of Hacha Yiten Eliboy, the Lubavitcher Rebbe always stressed after people pass on, after tragedies, those of us that remain here in this physical world must take to heart and learn from him what we can learn from him and keep him alive by continuing his good deeds. So please look at all the speeches today as a way for us to awaken ourselves to become better people, thanks to him, and not as eulogies. We're going to begin tonight by calling someone that was his camper, his student, later became a full Baal Tshuva, and a Shliach of the Rebbe, Rabbi Block from Eagle Park, Queens.
So you said it's not a eulogy, so it would be appropriate to start with a l'chaim. Between Yud Alef Nissen and Yud Gimel Nissen, and I think it's very appropriate. L'chaim, everybody. So a bit of a background to put things in perspective. My family arrived in America on February 6, 1980. And we settled on Brighton Beach. Sometime soon thereafter, maybe March, my parents decided to arrange a bris for myself and my older brother. Through Agudas Yisrael. I'm not sure who made the shidduch, but that's how it went. In the waiting room, well, to give you a bit of an idea, my older brother, a few of you might know him, David. He's the artist and the poet in the family, so that's where the creative talents are mostly. So he came out from after anesthesia and he said, "Now I'm proud to be a Jew," and everyone was like, "Wow!" I didn't say anything. So he went and he was actually that year by that good dinner he was like on stage. I remember that. It was like a big deal. What do I have to say? I had a bris. But in the waiting room for reasons I'm still not sure, was Mrs. Rosa Morozov. And she suggested to my parents it might be a good idea to send their boys to camp. Which we went, again, the order, mind you, is 42 years, and I was 8. So exactly the chronological order is probably going to be off, but nobody's going to know the difference anyway because I'll be the only one that knows. So I remember we came to sign up, and the first thing I remember is the Lions. The Lions are free. That was, for some reason, that stuck, the ones in the front. That was the thing that made the first impression on me. And I just want to say that some of the fondest, earliest, and strongest memories of my life are connected to this space and to Mendel. It's like whatever happened of any importance, that made any deep impact, happened within the 5 feet of this space right here, give or take. The sukkah, maybe the 3rd floor, but it was here. and it's sort of the smells and the sights and the sounds. They became part of my flesh and blood. So we went to PS 222. I remember there was I don't imagine anybody who would remember him. There was an Elterbacher from Far Rockaway. His last name was Laufer. As we say in Yiddish, Zugakum, he was from a non-Chabad family, and he was doing release time probably. I remember, just as a memory, there was Rabbi Rachmil will probably know this, the matzah ball contest. And I remember speaking to this bacher through the fence, and it captivated me. I don't know why, but it was, if you want to find that first point, that somehow that cemented itself in my mind. Anyway, coming back, so Lag B'Omer of that year, we came to the parade. I remember sitting on my father's shoulders. I remember seeing the Rebbe from afar. I remember that whatever was being said in Russian. That summer, me and my brother went to Camp Gan Yisrael, free. He, being the older one, was actually in Camp Free. I wasn't up on the hill. We figured that one out. With Baruch, we went back and forth. His memory about me is better than mine. And I was in the American division that year. My brother was in the younger division. He got all the prizes. He got all the Sidurim. He came back. And we came back after the summer Olfra hits. We were on fire. And so I remember the conversation we had with my parents, and we had a revolt in the family. We're not going back to public school. It was like a full-on, the two of us, it works better if you do it that way. It was a full-on revolt, no more public school. Okay? So what are you going to do? So I want to backtrack just 1 second. Again, it doesn't really matter chronologically, but my brother's bar mitzvah was Chav Dal Tevis of that year. And Mendel, Baruch, was in the audience, Ben Shekpil, and Bodl Chaim Tevim Maruchim, the other way being Izya Sirota, drove out to Brighton Beach to participate in the bar mitzvah. And there are many stories, legends that still go around exactly how they made it home after that, but this is not the time. But that was really that was a really important point. And just to say that what stuck with me really in hindsight, as I say, after 40 years, is to the extent that you go the extra mile. As a counselor, as a shliach, or whatever the case being, those people that are your people, then you go to whatever lengths you have to go. So, the bar mitzvah, whatever it was, you went. And anyway, at some point, we were enrolled here in the yeshiva free here on the third floor. As you went up all the way up to the top stairs, on the right-hand side, the big room was Rav Shlomo's class, the older boys. Next to that was a smaller classroom where your father taught Aleph Beis to myself and one other boy, whose name I don't remember. The truth, I don't think I ever knew it. But that's kind of where things began, as it were. And I would at some point, stay Shabbosim at your house, there on the floor, on the right side of the dining room table, or under the table, I remember, depending on what else was going on. Remember preparing for Pesach. I never spent Pesach by you. I was always at home. I started doing public zdarim at the ripe old age of 10. Man, Shevetz wine and everything. So maybe that's where my alcohol tolerance come from. But that's where for the family, this is my responsibility, and that's what I did for all of the, pretty much all of the years. But I remember you, I remember Leivik, whatever, was just cracking nuts, whatever it was. So that was sort of my, didn't have that at home, but about stuff not dropping on the floor and all that sort of stuff. That's sort of where that came in the beginning. So the events that really stood out most in my mind would be Sukkot here and at your father's home. That sukkah in the back, the smells, or the lakach and the herring, and the pickles usually but not the same. And usually on the backdrop that would be or Moshe Rapkin, because you need a visual to go together with all of that. And the Farbrengens in the sukkahs were legendary. I mean, it was just I couldn't tell you what anybody said ever, but the whole atmosphere, together with again the sights and the sounds, it really kind of seeped in. It became absorbed. Remember the sukkah meals in your sukkah? That's you still do it. I remember that across the other side there would be you would have Sephardi neighbors and your father's family, and then everybody they would join in whatever they were singing. It was an whatever it was. It was such a tremendous sense of unity in the sukkah. And I'll tell you to the extent that I can. Try to replicate a little bit where I am, which is interesting enough, a similar type of a dynamic. There's a lot of Sephardi Jews, and then there's me, and then whatever we do, after a couple of chaims, the differences melt away. And the Simchas Beis Yeshiva, the first one that was here, remember going together with him and dancing the night up until including the last one this year. I had an opportunity to dance with him together as well. So if I was going to point out the one moment where kind of things came together was my bar mitzvah. Your father prepared a Haftorah tape. No, I don't have it. That was my Haftorah. My bar mitzvah was in Ocean View Jewish Center, Rebbe Simpson Shul. And I'll tell you something, that was... For a 13-year-old, there was this sort of expectation that Mendel was going to show up. Now, mind you, walking 3 hours on the Shabbos for bar mitzvah is not something, but first of all, I knew he was capable of doing because me and him did it together for Talucha, so how bad could it be? But the deeper point is the relationship was such, and also he communicated in his behavior that but Pashtus, why would that not be the case? You have a bar mitzvah, you walk 3 miles. Now, would I do it? Anybody else would do it? You know what? I mean, you send a card, whatever. But it was Bapashtus because that's how he did everything else. So why would this be any different? So he didn't come on Shabbos, but he was one of the two people that came to the bar mitzvah. I had my classmates, is also in the basement of the shul there, him and Rabbi Usher White. And I have some of the pictures of the dancing, but he showed up. Yeah, so it wasn't on Shabbos, so I was moichel. He made it to the main event. He arranged that I should have an aliyah in the Rebbe's minyan upstairs. And as Kedarka B'Kodesh, we got there within a few minutes before the aliyah. I got to wrap up. I'm sorry. I should have asked you how much time I have. And I remember being picked up and placed in front of the Sefer Torah. And so I want to share a story with you that I heard from Queens, where I wound up on Shlichus. From Rabbi Yosef Grumblat Al Vashalom, who's the rabbi of the Queens Jewish Center, a place where I did Sdorim for many years. And he told me that in the early 80s, Free arranged to have a Seder in his shul in Forest Hills, which at that time was home to many, many, many thousands, primarily at that time Ashkenazi Jews. Things have changed since then. And Mendel, and I remember who else was there, came. And they did one Seder. And the morning or the night after the Seder was finished, they made it known that they're walking back to Crown Heights. Crown Heights, mind you, for those old enough, when you put Crown Heights in 1980 together, it creates a certain image. So Esther Grumbad of Shalom, when she heard that, she says, over my dead body, you're now walking to Crown Heights. Nobody's going anywhere. And they stayed. But interesting how kind of things, circled back together. And finally, if nothing else, Mendel loved. He loved the Rebbe. He was happy to be a soldier in the Rebbe's army. He wasn't looking for rank. He did whatever he did. He did it b'simcha tuv levav. The Rebbe said, march, and march. And he stopped till the water hit the nose and probably still continued going. Two, whatever he did for whoever he did it, he did with all the heart, with all the hand, and vice versa. There was no, when it came to helping and when it came to doing something for others, there was no such thing as holding back. And this is something for me that, to the extent that I can, it's very big shoes to fill, but they're not mine to fill. They're mine to every once in a while kind of take as a meide derech, wie man sagt, and hope that noch alles schept ein bisschen nachs. L'chaim.
Thank you, Rabbi Block. I know you have a lot more to share, and we're looking forward to hear it at another opportunity. I'm going to ask a colleague of his that has spent many years working with him, starting in camp, later on in Yeshiva on Ocean Parkway, in Free and President Street on Ocean Parkway. Spent many years working with him, educating many of the students. Rabbi Galperin, please.
I really don't know even how to start. To say that I'm honored, I'm very honored, it's not the right word. It's just very, very hard to talk because it's very hard to feel that he is not with us because he is with us. How do you describe in a few words, in a few minutes, a friend, a colleague, a yedid? I don't know how to translate in English. A yedid, a person that was connected with all fibers of our souls and just traveling back and forth from Ocean Parkway or in Free or in camp or even baking matzah. We were discussing a lot of things, that schedules and verbrengens at Yeme de Pagre, or the curriculums, or the whatever simchas, bar mitzvahs, or anything that we had to discuss on the way. And all of a sudden, when we were like sort of didn't see eye to eye, we had different opinions. Not always everything was peachy and rosy, but nevertheless, all of a sudden, Mendel, with his unique smile, with a twinkle in his eyes, he said, "Shlomo, say a word, say a story." And that's me. And I never prepared anything to tell him, but whenever I said something, all of a sudden he said, "You know, that the day is suddenly looks a lot better. The day looks more full of light. The day looks full of hope. It's something that was between us. It was just like a code, so to speak. The day would go different. How do you discuss a person that was an emisser Chosid, that was with all his, whatever he was doing, he was poshet übergegeben zum Rebbe, poshet connected with and always found the right way to do something that was right in the eyes of the Rebbe, in the eyes of the Eibishter, according to the Torah and mitzvahs, and he had the unique ability to translate, to deliver it to the boys. And the students appreciated, and they had this for life. Many, many years after that, we just witnessed on Brighton Beach, celebrating his 70th birthday, how the outpour, how they were speaking, how whatever they said about Mendel, it was just unique. It was just unheard of that people should express themselves in such a way. Rabbi Shmuel Ber Barisover, the famous Chassid, had I don't know how to say a friend, but before that he was a student of his, Avremke Zebiner. And he would come to him and he would teach him good Hasidic stuff. He would teach him good Hasidic stuff. And one day he came and he didn't say anything to him. And he said, "Stay with me tomorrow." He said, "Tomorrow? I cannot. I am a teacher. I'm an educator in my own town for the children. I cannot waste a day." And they were talking and talking, promising, Rabbi Shmuel Ber Barisover promised him very high concepts to be revealed and so on. And nothing happened. He stayed and nothing happened. And the next day, he asked him to stay again. And nothing happened. He didn't reveal. So Remke Zebiner, when he left, he said, "These 2 days teach me more than if he would be speaking so much about." In other words, it's not saying teach him a very valuable lesson in Hasidic life. I think it's a very appropriate, whatever we will say now or whatever we will not say about Mendel. It just, we have to understand that there's simply not always there is something that you can bring out in words, measure in valuable descriptions. Mendel was, when the same way like Avremke Zebiner said in the beginning, "I'm a melamed, I'm a teacher," and after that he got the lesson loud and clear in him. The same thing, Mendel was a teacher, Mendel was an educator, Mendel taught with his example, whatever it would be, it would be in davening, whatever it would be in a lesson, whatever it would be in an overnight in camp, whatever it would be on a trip for a Yema de Pagre. I saw recently, there's so many publications about anything and everything, and I saw something that there was a great rabbi, and he started to become close to Lubavitch, and he walked in, finally when he walked in to meeting the Rebbe, he said to the Rebbe, "I'm a ganzer Chosid, I'm a full Chosid." And the Rebbe responded to him, "A Chosid is nicht kein ganzer, and a ganzer is nicht kein Chosid. A Chosid is not complete, and there's always room to improve, there's always thing to do, and so on and so on." I want to just use the word a ganzer. I don't know if the word complete described its proper translation, the word a ganzer. Mendel was a ganzer. Whatever he was doing, he was ganz involved in it. Anything and everything, whatever he did, okay? And he did it with such a pshitus, with such a emeskeit, with such a ibrigebenkeit. From the beginning till the end, it was just a unique Mendel's trait of character, I'll say. It was not only ingrained in him because he is coming from an illustrious Hasidic family. It was ausgearbeitet, it was ausgehorvet, quietly and assumingly. Mendel, every single moment of his life, worked on himself, während a besserer Chosid, a besserer Mensch, a besserer Tata, a besserer teacher. He was constantly, mamish, besser and besser. I was looking with a story, how to describe what he accomplished, what he wanted to have in life, and so on. There's a famous story, it's not a Lubavitch story, that after the war there was poverty and hunger, and came Pesach, and there was nothing, not to eat, and no matzah, nothing, absolutely. And the Skulener Rebbe, when I came here in 1972, I saw an old man covered with a talus, davening for hours downstairs. And then they said when he comes to Offerbringen, the Rebbe slightly lifts up himself in honor because he was a very, very old, great tzaddik. And this Kulender Rebbe decided to bake matzahs. And he said everyone should register and everyone will get one matzah. While before Pesach, he was delivering the matzah, distributing the matzah, everyone would get only according to the register one matzah. Came the son of the Seret Vizhnitzer tzaddik. And he said, I need for my father told me 3 matzahs. He said, I can't, everything is counted, mamish, till everyone will get only one. And he said, just simply like it's a commandment midiraisa. The Torah says you should respect your father, and I'm respecting my father told me 3. Finally, he couldn't argue anymore because people were waiting. He gave him 3 matzahs. And then he said, I need another 3 matzahs. My father told me to take another 3 matzahs. And he said, I can't, there is no matzahs to give out. And he was stubbornly saying, my father told me and I have to fulfill what my father said. And he gave him another 3 matzahs. And he was left himself with 1 matzah. The day of Erev Pesach came a lady crying, and she said, my children, we came late, we were not registered, we didn't get, I don't have matzah for Pesach. How my children will celebrate Pesach without matzah? He took the matzah, and probably with a heavy heart he gave, but very happy he gave her. And he sat down to learn. That's what a tzaddik, a Jew, is doing. And then all of a sudden there was a knock on the door, and the Seret Vizhnitzer Rebbe walked in, and he looked at him like, what's now? What's now? I gave you already matzah. What's now again? And he asked him, how are you? And he's in a very good mood and everything. He is talking, and he said, and he started to apologize. I promise you, I don't have even for myself, I don't have no matzah left. And then he took out from behind, he was carrying a bag, and he took out the 3 matzahs that his son asked. In his vision, his holy vision, he understood that he will be left without matzahs, knowing the golden character of this person. And he gave for the Kulender, he should have matzah for his own place. I don't know how to translate the word bez atkazni. In Russian, there is a word bez atkazni, a person who cannot refuse no one and anybody. And that was Mendel. Mendel was so reliable, doing things and quietly in an assuming way. And whenever something has to be done, Mendel sort of rolled up his sleeve and started to do it, whatever it was necessary. And to start recounting and to start saying whatever it has to be done, he was an example of a person that could not refuse, a heart of gold, and he was always helping, or it was a former student, it was a neighbor, a friend, a person from the family. Mendel was always giving and giving again. I just want to wish the family should from now on know only simchas. And whatever everyone is saying, there is an account above, and everything is going on Mendel's account. And I don't have any other words how to describe how Mendel was in life. And definitely, he is now a Melitz Yesher, he is a protector, he is demanding on high. Anything and everything what we need for the family, and we just want to wish that the family should from now on have only simchas, only happy occasions, and let's hope that soon we will say l'chaim and dance together and celebrate not only Pesach, anything and everything we'll celebrate with Mendel again. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Rabbi Galperin. That story you shared really personifies my father. He would give that last matzah for everybody else. He would give everything he had for somebody else. He did it all his life. And I'm very grateful and thankful to his family, his siblings, and his close friends that are here today that knew that and would make sure he wasn't left with nothing, because he would have always given everything away. Talking about matzah, I want to point out to many of his students and friends that came here today, if you are in need of shmura matzah, we have Mendel's matzah here. We have matzah for you from him and a Haggadah. So on your way out, please make sure to take a box of matzah, take a Haggadah, and make sure to celebrate the Seder this Friday night and Matzah Shabbos, Friday night and Saturday night, properly the way he would like it. It would make him very proud. Our next speaker, the director of Tzivos Hashem International, the Children's Club. My father always dedicated his life to Jewish children. Rabbi Yerchmiel Ben Yaminson, please.
You might ask, what is a nice American boy doing in a Shloshim of Canadian, right? A nice Canadian boy doing in a Shloshim of a Russian individual with all the Russians here together. Like, what's my kesher, what's my connection? My connection goes back about 50 years ago. As was mentioned before, Free had a camp in Gan Yisrael in the Catskills, in Parksville. It was called Siberia, right? We used to call it, no? What was it called? So what was the Russians? Turkey, Russia, I don't know, whatever it was. It was all the way, it was all the way far away from everybody. And that camp that the Russians had free and the camp of Gan Yisrael never got along. There was always fights. This one wants to use the baseball field, and this one wants to use the soccer field, and you know, you start up with the Russians, you know, you don't get too far. And it was continuously, there was such a terrible feeling between these two camps. But the director of the camp wanted to have this achdus, which never turned out. And so over the years, there was a lot of animosity between those two camps. One year, I was asked to be the director of the camp. And at that time, I knew Mendel a little bit, but I went over to Mendel before camp. I said, listen, Mendel, I really don't care what happened with you in the years before, but we're going to make this work. The camp was so successful. There was such achdus between the regular camp and the Russian camp that at the end of the summer, Mendel told me that I should know that I am right now a non-honorary member of the Russian community. So that's where it started. But it didn't start and end there. A few months later, this was already the time, I think it was 1977, 78, when a lot of Russian people were coming out, and they were coming to many shluchim all over United States. And the shluchim didn't know what to do with these people. These were Russian-speaking people. The shluchim were all Americans. So they turned to Free that they should go ahead and come and visit as many cities as possible in America. And so they went ahead and they got this mitzvah mobile, this mitzvah tank. It was the first mitzvah tank that there was. It was from Detroit, Michigan. It was the Rabbi Lipschitz who had it. It was a big, beautiful mitzvah tank. And they rented it for 7 weeks, for 3 weeks before Pesach and 4 weeks after Pesach, just like this time of the year. Now, Mendel was in charge, together with Moshe Chaim Levin and with the Hirschel, with the Bisk. These were all Russians, but they didn't know too much about America, They knew how to drive, that's it, and this was a big mitzvah mobile. So who do they come to? The honorary Russian. They came to me and said, Rachmiel, we need you to come along with us. And I said, what do you need me to do? They said, you are to be the spokesman, because we're going to go and be interviewed by a lot of newspapers, by television stations, etc. I think that we went to about 40 cities in those 7 weeks. It was really something phenomenal. Sometimes we did 2 cities in a day. I want to tell you that over these 7 weeks, Mendel made sure there shouldn't be one argument between us. You ever see 4 bachrim in a van, in a mitzvah tank, day in, day out, driving thousands and thousands of miles? Not one argument did we have. Everybody worked together, and Mendel wanted to make sure that there should be no machlekes, nothing wrong. In fact, Mendel went ahead, and it was a kosher mitzvah tank, so we had an oven there and everything. He used to make the steaks for us. He used to make sure that the food was kiyad ha-melech, that everything that we needed. He wanted to make sure that this trip was going to be something very special, and it really, really was very special. It's the only time that I know of such a project, and it was really thanks to him that it worked so professionally, so beautifully, and how we touched thousands and thousands of lives of people that did not know anything about Torah mitzvahs. This was their first time having an opportunity to go ahead and interact with some real Yidden that were Shemrei Torah mitzvahs. And from there, now you know a little bit about my honorary degree. It was Rosh Hashanah time, and me and my wife, we always had guests in our house. And we had a girl come from Eretz Yisrael who knew my wife very well from seminary. And my wife turns to me one time and says, listen, this girl is something very, very special. We need to find her a shidduch. Who is somebody that you know that's really, really special? I said, you know what, let me think about it. And I remember I went to 770, and I was looking around and thinking, and then all of a sudden I said, you know who was a really, really great boy? I think he was then 27 years old or something. Mendel Okunov. I worked with him so much over the last few years, and so I became a shadchan. So now for sure I became an honorary Russian citizen, and the girl in my house was his dear wife, Zahava, and the shidduch happened, Baruch Hashem. So my connection with the family is something that's very, very dear to us. And I just wanted to say one other thing. Everything is hashgacha pratis. And those of you that said Hayom Yom today, the Yom Yom today speaks about the difference between a ben, an eved, and someone who's in the tzava, someone who's in the army. And the Rebbe writes there all about Sivas Hashem, that the difference between an Eved and a Ben and someone who's in the Tzava is entirely, entirely different. An Eved doesn't go ahead and do everything with Mesiras Nefesh. Someone who's in the Tzava, someone who's Sivas Hashem, they're into this with Mesiras Nefesh. And so it's only by Hashgacha Pratis that today is Shloshim. This is who Mendel was. He was a soldier. He wasn't an Eved. He wasn't Ben. He was in the army of the Rebbe. Whatever he could do, he was there. I never, ever saw him, and I know him for 50 years. I never saw him angry. I never saw him trying to get covet. I never saw him ever getting into an argument with somebody. He was always, always with a smile on his face. He was always an individual who only had something good to say about somebody else. Never heard Lashon Hara from him. He was an emesis soldier of the Rebbe. Ti Zichrei Baruch, and Kitzu Ranan Nashech Ne'afar, V'hu B'teicham, and the Mir Hashem, we should have the schus and the merit of going and having Mir Hashem this year Pesach with him in Yerushalayim HaKadosh with the Rebbe B'Reishenu. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Benjaminson. Just want to point out again, those that showed up later, thank you very much to all that came, and to the many that are watching live. If you do need to leave, we understand it's Erev Pesach. We're not chasing anybody away. We want you to stay. There's many speakers, but we want you to, if you have to leave, please tune in live and listen. There's many beautiful insights coming. So first of all, l'chaim, everybody. L'chaim, Tati. I want to call up a very close friend of my father. No introduction is needed. Lev Rifkin, please.
David, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about our friend, Rav Mendel, because that's how we called him. So, in a deja vu life, I met Rab Mendel when I was by bar mitzvah age, the first year of Gan Israel camp, 1980. And my good friend Felix Berkovich brought me to the camp. We lived together not too far from the yeshiva on Ditmas Avenue. And in the deja vu life, I only met him for that year. Back as a kid, I didn't realize how special he was. And Hashem runs the world in a very miraculous ways and different ways. Unfortunately, when Felix passed away when he was young, I met your father again in my adult life by the Levi. That was back in 2000, 22 years ago. So my relationship with Mendel goes from really my adult life, from 22 years ago, where he inspired me to be a better person. To some degree, he, I think, accomplished. I closed all my businesses on Shabbat just because of Mendel. And they continue to be closed. But our relationship developed further on based on trust, devotion, and I understood as a young man that Mendel lived for kids. He lived for Gan Israel camp, and I tried my hardest to give the most I can to donate to the camp, to keep it going in the difficult moments about 10 years ago. And David told me that Mendel would love to see the continuation of Gan Israel camp, even though now it's ceded its operations because of Mendel's health. So with that in mind, we should continue Mendel's legacy. On mendelslegacy.com website that David created, my family donated a substantial amount of dollars. We're not going to go into the dollars. We want to continue raising the monies for that legacy to have the camp reestablished in his honor, in his beliefs that every Jewish boy, every Jewish child can be a better Jew, just like Mendel taught us. Mendel said it, we did it. With that in mind, I want to dedicate this evening in his honor and continuation of Gan Israel camp, and may we all be able to support it, see the fruits of the tree as Mendel did. In every child, he saw the fruit of the tree. Thank you. Thank you very much. You have an amazing father.
Thank you, Lev. Thank you for your partnership with him over the years. He always looked forward to see you on every holiday, every time you came for Purim. He was looking forward. He made sure you had the best fish that you like. He knew you personally. I remember he gave you your tefillin. He knew you would use them every day. He trusted you. He had a very close, warm relationship, and we appreciate that. I'm going to call my brother Zalmi to read a letter from a student of my father. He couldn't make it. He's in Florida. Zalmi? He's going to read a letter from Menachem Temchin, a very close friend of ours. We grew up together in the Shabbatons and the yeshiva. And he wrote a letter because he couldn't be here. And Zalmi, please share with us.
Okay, so the letter is addressed to my brother David. So it starts like this. Dear Davidka, it's tough to put into words the emotion I'm feeling as I write this. I'm not a man of many words, and expressing myself is often difficult, as I sit here trying to put into perspective the person that Mendel was, not only for me, but for others. I'm not here to talk about others' interactions with Mendel. I want to dedicate this time to say how he impacted my life and how I continue to live every day with his wisdom and mitzvahs that he cast down on me and each and every day. I was fortunate to become one of Reb Mendel's students 30 years ago when we moved to the U.S. To sum up what kind of person he was and how it was important for him that each and every neshama receive a Jewish education, at that time, there weren't many students in my neighborhood, and Reb Mendel would drive every morning from Crown Heights to pick me up and drive me to yeshiva. At day's end, he was the one who would drive me home with his children in tow. This gave me the opportunity to spend considerable time with him every day outside of yeshiva. Mendel always lived b'simcha. He was always happy and smiling. The amount of time and energy that he dedicated to his students and every Yid in general is unexplainable. And I was always amazed as to how much he would accomplish each and every day. Thanks to Rabbi Mendel, with me, he created another Shomer Shabbos family whose children attend yeshiva. His teachings and love for me are the reason I am who I am today. It was a great pleasure to know. It was a great pleasure and honor to know Reb Mendel. Hold on. It was a great pleasure and honor to have Reb Mendel at my wedding, during which I recall my father making the first l'chaim of the night in honor of Reb Mendel, thanking him and saying, in quotes, "He is who he is because of you," referring to Menachem. These are the memories that my family will treasure forever. It saddens me that I was unable to see him in the last few years, but always have him in my thoughts. My best memories, my childhood friends, who I met at Lubavitch Yeshiva, are what will live inside me forever, and the majority of those memories are together with him, Menachem Temchin.
Is Rabbi Lepkivker still here? Baruch. A very close friend of my father. They shared a birthday a day apart. They celebrated every year together. They knew each other back from Samarkand as children and reunited back in America. Kept a very strong relationship. Unfortunately, his friend didn't make it from COVID, but we have his son. It's going to represent him. Very close relationship with the family. My father and his father were like best friends, brothers, spent so much time together, going to the oil, asking for brachas, for bringing together. In memory of Arik Pudel, please, Yossi Pudel, come share some words.
Thank you for the introduction, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak at Mendel Shloshim. You don't have to look very far to recognize Mendel's legacy. You look around the room and you see his family, his friends, his Talmidim. In fact, the very four walls that we're in are Mendel's legacy. And since we are all sharing our personal experiences and how he touched our lives immeasurably, I remember standing in that spot by my bar mitzvah. I went to Chaim Berlin for elementary school and high school, and it was very important for my father, Rabbi Mendel, that I say a mimer. And I said it Baal Peh in Yiddish, and Rabbi Mendel was sitting right next to me, almost like when a guy lanes and the guy is trying to give him the trop on the side. Rabbi Mendel was there to be there and fill in the words. Yiddish is not my first language, after all. People are reminiscing about the first time they met Rabbi Mendel, the first time he came into their lives. That would be very difficult for me to do because Rabbi Mendel was by my bris. He was a presence in my household ever since I was born. Our families span close to 60 years. My grandfather knew Rabbi Mendel. My grandmother knows Rabbi Mendel. The same way that he puts a smile on everyone's face, he put a smile on their face. And when you think of Rabbi Mendel, the image that, even though he's gone, the image that is etched in my memory is the smile. You think of Rabbi Mendel, the first thing he sees, when you see him, is a smile. In fact, he was so infectious that you thought that it was just you, until you realized that everybody felt over here felt it was just them. And that was the connection that he was able to emanate towards you. David mentioned how they were almost like brothers. In addition to being my father's confidant, and I can assure you they spoke almost every single day across every range of topics that you can imagine. My father looked up to Rav Mendel. They were a couple years in age, a couple years apart. Every Sukkot, my father would meet Rav Mendel in Crown Heights, and he would pick out a lulav and an esrog. They had fabring a little bit. I remember for many years in my as I was growing up, I would go with my father, meet Rav Mendel by Adik. We used to have l'chaims there, and rain, no rain, didn't matter. We used to go to the wee hours of the morning. Baruch Hashem, I had the opportunity to spend I missed a couple of years. I was in Eretz Yisrael. I had the opportunity to get one last Sukkot by Rav Mendel. My father was gone by then, but I came with my friends, and Rav Mendel was sharing his war stories. He confirmed some of the stories, denied some of the others, but ultimately, my friends were, this is something that I took for granted, but my friends were so floored when they were walking away. They're like, it's unbelievable. And I'm like, yeah, this is who Rav Mendel is. So I think about Rav Mendel, and I think, what's his defining characteristic? Yeah, his smile. And yeah, he was unbelievably devoted chassid, but his toughness was Samarkand strong. What does Samarkand strong mean? That means these are people who grew up on the run. These are people who grew up in adverse conditions. And if you're familiar with Rav Mendel's life, he's been hit many, many times. And he might have carried it, he might have taken it ahead, but ultimately, you move forward. You move forward with a smile on your face, you get up the next day, and that's what Rav Mendel was all about. Unbelievably resilient. I look at him as a giant of a man, and I mean that completely unironically. He was a giant of a man. toughness that I couldn't even imagine and probably doesn't really come around too often in this generation. I guess just to touch back on the personal element and maybe what we can carry forward, there's an incredible amount of parallels between my father and Rav Mendel. Almost eerie if it wasn't for something called Hashgacha Pratis, which was mentioned in the prior speech, one or two before. My father was born in Adar. Rav Mendel was born a day or two apart from my father. One day. They grew up both in Samarkand. They both came to America. They both suffered tragic losses of their father. They both carried forward. Unfortunately, they both passed away very closely together. They're buried a couple of feet apart. And I'm hoping right now they're making l'chaims together, looking down upon us, advocating for us. And if there's one thing I can tell you about Rav Mendel, it's that he, maybe because of his experiences, maybe it was natural, but he never took anything for granted. Maybe because he understood how quickly things can change, how much pressure he was under growing up. But ultimately, even though my family, the Okunov family, did suffer a sudden, shocking change of events, range of emotions, ultimately, you don't need that to happen to you in order to not take things for granted. So we should live every life, make the most of every moment. I want to wish Rav Mendel l'chaim, neshama sh'ayim aliyah.
Thank you, Yossi. Just want to share, I know some people here came here today with mixed feelings. It's natural to feel sad. The first day after Shiva, someone walked over to me and he told me he was sitting Shiva. Rabbi Groner and Rabbi Krinsky came over to me, Menachem, the Rebbe's secretaries, and they shared a story with him that when the Rashag, the Rebbe's brother-in-law, was sitting Shiva for his sister, the Rebbe came to console him, to be Menachem, and the Rebbe told him that we, the living, can cause an aliyas neshama, an elevation of the soul, by being besimcha, by being happy. The Rashag, with his closeness to the Rebbe, asked him, where is that written? Where's the source to that? And the Rebbe smiled and said, das is my nachidush. That's my invention. But in any case, I got that message one day after Shiva. I was very broken, but I figured, you know what? I'm sure that's what my father wants as well. We have to be happy. So, l'chaim, everybody. I'm going to ask one of my father's students. People sometimes ask, how could it be that you go to yeshiva and you get a good education, you might not have a good future? But a successful attorney, he studied in yeshiva. In yeshiva, he was known as Tzaddik. My father fondly liked to call him that name, even though he's not famous for that name. Tzaddik Albert Dayan, please.
Thank you. I want to try to get put all my thoughts together because this is a very special moment for me. So Mendel was referred to by a few and by many as a soldier of Tzivos Hashem. He was not just a soldier of Tzivos Hashem. He was a national hero of Tzivos Hashem. Who is a hero? A hero is someone who is willing to give his all and gives his all and gives his all for the cause. He is no different. You know, my son is now a young lawyer, and I always teach him to make the point first, especially when you're speaking to intelligent people, and then explain if they need to explain. To me, Mendel Okunov, and please forgive me if some of you don't agree right away, is no different than the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He's no different because people in the Lubavitch Rebbe status, may he rest in peace, and many other tzaddikim who they give, and they're recognized in a sort of like the societal whole, right? Because they make speeches in front of thousands of people. They are recognized by thousands of people. But when you are willing to give your life and give your all to the individual, that is much more difficult. It's much more difficult. So Mendel Okunov, he gave to the individual Jew. Excuse me, like I said, I was going to be a little sentimental, but I'm going to try to flip, right? So I grew up in Queens. I'm a Bukharian Jew who immigrated to the United States in 1979, and then we all moved to Queens. And there was no way for us to have access to the Lubavitcher sector because Lubavitch sector was not yet so diversified to move out to Queens. So someone had to come every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning to pick us up every morning. So that person, the sacrifice of that was much greater than giving a lecture to a school that would start at 9 o'clock. It was much greater than giving a speech at 9 o'clock in the morning to 1,000 people or at 9 o'clock in the evening. That is the ultimate sacrifice. So when he would get up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, come to Forest Hills, Rego Park, and somebody had said that he had these radiant eyes, and he did have these radiant eyes. When he would open up the door, we had this van, and he would open up the door to everyone, and you see those radiant eyes, like look at you, like, and you'd be excited to go to school. That to me is not just a hero. And if anybody has, and I know you guys are so much more learned than I am, but if anybody would argue with my really proposition that Mendel Okunov is a tzaddik. He is a tzaddik in the most sublime, in the most unrecognized way. I don't know any other Jew like him on an individual level. Yes, on a public level, on a platform level, but I don't know any other Jew that has given so much for the individual lives of Jews. Individual lives, right? He gave his most precious. He gave his time. He gave his life. He gave away. He gave his children, his wife. He gave all that up for each individual Jew, and there are many Jews that he saved. So I really like say this from. I say this cognitively, okay. Mendel Okunov is, to me, second in line in terms of tzaddikim after Rabbi Schneerson. If you know anybody else, come up and say it. I don't know anybody. Money's not everything. He gave his all, and he never asked for credit. He gave his all. So in his respect, I just want to say, what a great Jew. What a great Jew, you know? What an amazing Jew. What an amazing Jew. I don't know anyone, I don't know anyone else like that. Because everyone else is sort of driven by some ego, something ego. When we donate, we want to make sure that people know. When we make a speech, we want people to know. Not Mendel. So I want to say thank you so much to his children, to his Eshet Chai wife, that I know personally they gave it all. They sacrificed a great father. I'm a great dad to my kids. Like, I would not give anything. I'd rather spend time with my children. But he gave it all away. And may he rest in peace. And I want to say thank you so much to your parents, to your parents, Mr. Okunov, and your ancestors. What a beautiful soul, and what an amazing child, Rabbi Okunov. And I mean, I wish that his children somehow carry on, but I don't know anyone else like him. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to this organization, and so many souls you saved, and thank you so much, Rabbi Okunov. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Albert. As Rabbi Galperin mentioned earlier, just 10 days before my father passed away, he celebrated his 70th birthday, together with many of his former students and friends and family. It was a very emotional reunion. He was not known as a big speaker. He didn't usually speak and give speeches. Especially with his Parkinson's, he didn't like talking in front of crowds. But at his birthday, he prepared a speech, and he shared it. And as far as we know, he didn't leave us a written will, but I think this speech is kind of like his will. So we're going to actually now play his speech that he said just 10 days before he passed. I think every word is on point.
Our sages say that you should give them the blessing. Please give the bracha. Dear family, friends, and many of my students whom I consider as friends, Baruch Haba. I want to welcome and thank you all for coming from far and near to celebrate with me. To some of you, I may look or sound a little bit tease. Last time you saw me in my and say a word twice or missed out a word, but I'm sure you will get the general picture. Celebrating a Jewish birthday is relatively a new conception in Judaism. In 1988, the Rabbi Rebbe established a Jewish birthday campaign encouraging the celebration of a Jewish birthday in public. The Rebbe advised to make a Fabringen, a gathering with friends, and encourage the one who celebrated his birthday to accept and himself a good resolution for the coming year. Thank you for helping me to fulfill the instructions of the Rebbe. 7 is a special number. It's 10 times 10 times 7. The number 7 represents nature. The world was created in 7 days. There is 7 days of the week. There's 7 notes. Number 8 represents going above nature. Like the miracle of Hanukkah lasts for 8 days. That's why Hanukkah is 8 candles. Our goal is to transform nature to above nature. That is that's called the nest, a miracle. It says in Mishnah that 4 categories of people that are obligated to celebrate and thank and gratitude to Hashem. One who crossed the desert, one who was released from jail, one who was crossed the ocean, and one who was recovered from sickness. All 4 groups are obligated to recite a special blessing at the Torah in public called Birkas HaGoyim. Yesterday on Shabbos, Baruch Hashem, I was able to recite the bracha. As I recovered from this stroke, I'm grateful to Hashem. Thank you all for joining me in this Suda the door, a meal of thanks to Hashem. There are many things a person should do on his birthday. One of them is to spend time alone and think about the past and correct the things that need to be corrected. And the good things should be continued in a strong way and with more energy. To all my former students that are here today, when I look back at my life, I will my best years of my life in you guys. Someone told me today that I remember everybody. The answer is when you invest in something, you should better remember where to invest it. I started in the 70s when the Iron Curtain began to open, and a big wave of Jewish immigrants began to come to the United States. Heading the call of the Rabbi Rebbe to reach out to every single Jew, I saw the importance of using my Russian language, and I joined my brothers Meir and Herschel and got involved in free organization. In over 4 decades, I took up on myself to educate the coming generation on the basis of Judaism in a way that they should be able to influence others, and especially to give it over to their children. I'm sure it was a good investment, but they need to continue. I'm not retiring yet. When the Rabbi Rebbe celebrated his 70s, he said that some people coming to the age of 70, they think about their retirement, but in Jewish life there's no retirement. All the Hashem used to be as a present of the world. The problem is that since you graduated from Yeshiva, most people moved on in life and lost contact with many of you. While I was blessed to keep in touch with many of you, mainly meeting on other occasions, I would love to be in touch with more of you and more of you. Everything that you see here was said, you have to learn a lesson from it. You can learn a lesson from everything that happened in our life. Corona crisis taught us a new way of communication. I'm hoping we could create a group where we can communicate and share good news, one another, and support each other. I will be very happy to meet with you, usually also to study together, or meet the person for a simcha, or put new mezuzahs in your home. And start to all the Rebbe together and get a blessing. Please reach out and keep in touch. I would like to thank my wife, Zahava, and children, and my brothers there for me and helping me in my recovery. Thank you for asking here in inviting me. And most importantly, thank you for each and every one of you for coming today. On Jewish birthday, a person's muzzle is dominated. It's shining. I want to use this special power and the opportunity to bless all of you with everything you need in abundance, and all of you should celebrate your 7th birthday in full health, and don't forget to invite me to your 7th birthday. I have a request from you. Unity is a very strong power. There's some people who need as a poor. They need a young man, a friend of mine from India, who is after Kakakak, the whole year, still in common. I want to get with you blessing, come out from the coma, be healthy, be better than before. His name is Shamil Shmuel Chaim Ben Ella. Should have a refuah shlema. Amen. Also, my friend and neighbor, Sion Ben Zora, should have a fast recovery.
Amen. Thank you.
I want to share an insider's perspective. Many here are speaking from their relationship with him as his students, his friends. As his oldest child, I want to share a little bit of my feelings. I'll try to be short. Growing up with my father, which gave his everything to everyone, as everybody spoke here today, always put the others first. As I raise my family today, I can't imagine how he was able to just juggle everything together and put everybody else first and raise the family. He balanced perfectly his mission, his shlichus from the Rebbe, and raising us as a family. We're 12 children, we're not a small family. Baruch Hashem. His shlichus from the Rebbe was to emigrate, to educate immigrant children. And that was always his first priority. His way of education was far from just within the walls of school. He made sure to take care of all their physical well-being. He kept a close relationship with their parents and even their siblings that were not in the yeshiva. He took them on the Shabbatons with them. He looked at each of his students as his own child. You may wonder how someone can also take care of a family when doing that. He found a way to incorporate us with his shlichus and his mission. Every Shabbos, many students graced our Shabbos table when they came to the Free Shabbos Club to Crown Heights. But he made us feel proud to give up our bedroom to host students, to give up the attention. He would have us share our parsha and give the attention as well, but he made us feel proud of what he did. Somehow he found time on Friday afternoon to go and pick up the students very close to Shabbos from all different areas in Brooklyn to bring them to Crown Heights for Shabbos and still have time to help cook in the kitchen and make the cholent. On Shabbos, he would balance learning, davening with the students, coming back home for a very quick meal, sometimes just a piece of cake, kiddush and a piece of cake, and then take us to the Rebbe's Farbrengen. For many, pushing at the Rebbe's Farbrengen to get to see the Rebbe's face was a big priority. Sometimes he would give us that opportunity and bring us to the Russian bench with Barotkin. But most often, he would come in from the back entrance on 770 from Union Street. He would take me and my younger brothers and crawl under the tables and get close to the Rebbe's feet. He would definitely not see anything, but for him it was important to hear the Rebbe, not so much to see. We didn't understand much, but that lesson was definitely implanted in us. Back to the students. On Motzei Shabbos, he would take us skating or skiing on Sunday with the students. He incorporated us and gave us a fun time, made us appreciate his work. One of his favorite parts of his job was camp. He loved nature. He would show the campers and us how to appreciate God's beautiful creation. He made it fun to be Jewish. Always adventurous. I was lucky to go through all the stages of his camp. After the sleepaway camp, he started a day camp in the late 80s, and I was lucky to be a camper there after Menucha Day Camp closed down. Rabbi Dechter is here now, and he ran the yeshiva for many years, helped him out. Before that, Rabbi Bogomilsky was there, and when the yeshiva's camp closed down, my father said, I would like to open a camp for the Russian students. And Rabbi Bogomilsky told him, you're going to lose money. You're not going to make money. And his response was, I'm not looking for money, I'm looking for neshamas. So he said, okay, you can have it. The building's yours. And when he asked Rabbi Bogomilsky, how much do I need to pay you for the camp? He said, when you start making money, we'll talk. And he graciously gave him the yeshiva to use for the camp. After being a camper in the late 80s, early 90s, I later became a counselor in the late 90s. Eventually became the head counselor. He trained me well. And about 12 years ago, he asked me to become the director of camp. We vowed to continue his work, his legacy, and we're going to continue his camp. Thanks to everybody's support. Children were number one for him. Seeing children enjoy gave him lots of joy, and we're going to do that. We're going to continue doing that. As we saw in his speech, he stressed keeping in touch with him. He wanted to keep in touch with the students. So to those students that are still watching us live or watching this after, he wanted to create a group. He said Corona taught us a new way of communicating virtually. He wanted us to communicate. He offered to come and put mezuzahs up on your doors and come to your simchas and going to the oil together for advice and joining him to learn with him. So on behalf of my siblings, my cousins, my uncles, his family, we extend that invitation to you. Reach out. We will be happy to be his messengers and be there for you when you need. Please reach out. Going to ask my cousin Ephraim to get up and share a few words. Thank you for listening.
Vetter Mendel,
the way we knew him, the way we called him, Uncle Mendel, fascinated me. Not only for his resilience, but for his joy, his simchas hachayim. He had a spark, a happiness, a simcha in Leben. I remember, I was maybe 5 years old, and Mendel came to babysit us on Crown Street. But to be more accurate, it wasn't just babysitting. He actually took us, he sang and danced with us. He put us on his shoulders. We danced on the living room floor. We danced the night away. We all remember, or some of us remember, the big Simchas Beis HaSheyeva in Brighton Beach on the boardwalk, where thousands of Yidden got together to celebrate Simchas Beis HaSheyeva. There was music, there was singing, and then there was dancing. When Mendel got into the center of the crowd, everybody waited for Mendel to do the Kazatzke. There was hundreds of people surrounding, clapping, watching. Mendel was on his feet. Mit Azah Simcha. And the same scene repeated itself over and over by each family Simcha, by a chasana of family and friends. Everybody waited for Mendel to get into the center, get onto the dance floor and dance. This was Mendel. He was alive. He was energetic. He was full of joy. Every time I met Mendel on the street, like Yossi mentioned earlier, it was personal. He got a big Shalom Aleichem and a big smile. It wasn't just a nod. It was a personal connection. And as we're hearing tonight, it was not just with me as a nephew of many, Baruch Hashem, it was hundreds of students, like we saw by the birthday, and we see tonight. I remember Yossi, my brother Yossi, reminded me we were standing sometime in the early mems on the bleachers, or in the mid. I was probably 10 years old, mid mems, and it was Achron Shel Pesach. We were by the Rebbe's Fabrengen. We were praving Mashiach Suda. So by the Nigunim in between the Simchas, we would say L'chaim. And I remember Mendel saying, Ephraim, es matzah, here, take matzah. It says, Michled b'hemnusa, Michled asvasa. The Vesos meant Michled b'hemnusa. You know what it means, Michled b'hemnusa? Sigit emunah. He was trying to encourage me to eat matzah on Pesach. As long as the mitzvah is there, it gives a yid emunah. This was Mendel. Everything he did was Torah mitzvahs. Yiddishkeit mattered above all else. What mattered to him, that a Jewish child belongs in a yeshiva, a Jewish child belongs in a Jewish summer camp. Jewish identity mattered to Mendel. That is what mattered. Everything else was azayte kezach, was an extra. This is the Mendel I remember, and this is the Mendel that I will forever cherish. L'chaim.
Thank you, Ephraim. I'm going to ask my father's second cousin and close friend, grew up together in Samarkand, the Mashpia in Free, Rabbi Ichem Mishalovin, to please come share a few words and memories from my father's childhood.
Even Mendel is my second cousin, and I knew him since he was before Bar Mitzvah. He grew up in our hometown in Samarkand, and it looks like we were very close. The families were close. We are related, but I see at night tonight. I didn't know at all what Mendel is. Even I knew Mendel. I know he was a Chassidish Reed, and very warm, very freilich, like everyone said. And that what kind of an impression he made, and all he cultivated so many Yiddish Yugelait, Talmidim, Shemre Shabbos, Eden, the Sveis Montero Mitzvahs. That's the biggest chus what like Rabbi Block used to say. The Rebbe, he came to America, and he asked the Rebbe if he should stay here to teach the kids who came out of Russia. The Rebbe told him that's the biggest chus has to be to learn the kids Torah with all the came out of didn't have opportunity. There was in Russia. Everyone understands there's no yeshivas, no chadorim, nothing was there, and they came out to America to. They should not to lose the opportunity. This was the biggest chus for him, and Bechlal everything the Torah says Shulchan Aruch in Chabad Bechlal we don't make hespedim. Not hespedim, eulogy is this in English. But the whole thing is v'achai yitna libei. The biggest chus is for him. We should learn from his avoider, his isaskes, and that should be the conclusion from this Shloshim. Especially, I remind myself, there's Bashgacha Pratis, his Shloshim is on the day from the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek's Yortzeit, Yud Gimel Nissen. Tzemach Tzedek is the Stalig Van Heim Nacht is Yud Gimel Nissen. And he had the same name. And Shmuel Milsehi, he had the name from Tzemach Tzedek. Reb Mendel Futterfest, also Reb Mendel, it was the same name. He came up to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said to him, wir sind doch genommen noch ein Tzemach Tzedek. Hab mir das Scheich als jedes andere. But the Nomen, the Mendel had the Bremes Nomen, the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek's Nomen, und Punkt als ein Shloshim, the Verbringen, the gathering is Yud Gimel Nissen, the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek, so we should be inspired about this and to learn us, and we should continue in bringen Mashiach und was nennt und was schneller und lernen sich von Mendels Aveide und Mendels Hisaskes. Und man soll sicher sein, bekommen Mamisch nach dem Nissen, nach Far Pesach, soll sein eine gute Schleime, mit Mashiach Zitkenu, bekommen Mamisch.
Thank you, Rabbi Mishalovin. We have here with us, as we saw in my father's birthday speech towards the end, he asked everybody to daven and ask for a refuah shlema for a close family friend, Shamil Shmuel Chaim Ben Ella Simanduev. We have here his brother, Ariel Simanduev. Very close family relationship. I'm going to ask him to share a few words. At the end, we're not going to end. We're going to sit for a long time and for praying afterwards. But soon after the formal speeches, we're going to show a video of some of his students sharing their very beautiful emotions and feelings at his birthday to my father, followed by open mic Farbrengen.
Thank you very much, everybody. We will join here today to pay respect to our dearest Rabbi Mendel Okunov. My family and I met Rabbi Mendel when we just came to the United States. It was back in 2001, and we paid our first visit to 770. We barely spoke any English. We didn't know no one. And it was such a blessing to meet the rabbi there. But it wasn't just the fact that he was speaking Russian to us and we couldn't understand. It was his kind heart, his willingness to help with anything he could. We could see it right there the first time we met him, that he was a special person. He made us feel like a family from the beginning, and we were like a family from that day on. In happiness or sadness, he was always there. I feel like, and I'm sure everyone in this room will share my feeling that the only thing that Rabbi Mendel was afraid of was not to be able to help someone who needed help and ask him for it. He felt obligated to help and did everything absolutely he could to do that. You could see it in his eyes. You could see it in the way he was talking to you, in his words. His smile and his eyes were pure like a child, but his heart and his will were courageous like the most fierce warrior you've ever seen in your life. A couple of years ago, my family had an unfortunate event, and my brother had a terrible accident that happened to him. And we were sitting in a hospital at Jersey Shore at night, not knowing what to do. We'd never been in this situation before. We never even had a doctor before, so we had no idea what's going on. And we were scared. We were in ICU. The doctors and nurses were all strict to us, and we didn't know what we had the right to do, what we couldn't. And Rabbi Mendel came with his daughter. He was among the first people who came. He brought us a $1 from a Lubavitch rabbi that was given to him, and he said, "Put it under your brother's pillow." And then we prayed, and then he said, "What can I do? How can I help? What do you want me to do?" I couldn't really tell him what I needed because we didn't know ourselves, but apparently he did. The next day, I received a call. I received a call from Rabbi Leader, who was the head of Ahavas Hesed, and he told me, my closest friend, Rabbi Mendel, told me about your family and your tragedy, and because I love him so much, I'm going to do everything I can to help your family. He came to the hospital the next day. He organized a liaison for us, a Jewish liaison in a hospital, which was very hard. We had the support from other hospitals. He had connections in NYU, in Cornell. He helped us. He offered us to help to transport my brother to the better hospital. We felt protected. We held family. We held warmth. And it was all because of Rabbi Mendel. He never called us to tell us that he did that, but we knew it was him because Rabbi Leader told us. And this is just the type of person he was. Very humble, but he gives his 100% to everyone that needs help. And it doesn't matter if it's his relative, if it's his family, or just a fellow Jew. I cannot find the words to thank Rabbi Mendel and his family for all the support that he provided to us throughout these years, and especially during this time. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that in the world we live in right now, unfortunately, there are so many materialistic things that we need to worry about to survive, to do things for our families, and that leaves very little room to help others. And we forget about it. We just concentrate on our lives and what we need to do to survive, right? But that was not what Rabbi Mendel did. He always gave his 100% to you. When he talks to you, you feel like you are the only person that he's concerned about. I don't know how he did it, but that's how I felt, and I'm sure everyone in this room felt the same thing. We should all try to learn from him. We should all try to be like him. I feel like the traits that he had, the courage, the kindness, the big heart, the relentless willingness to help others, That's what a true Jewish leader should have, and that's what we all should try to resemble. And I hope that eventually, at least partially, we can do the same. Thank you.
We're going to ask one of my younger brothers, almost a generation apart, to share his experience with my father. Yisrael Ayeleb, please come and speak for a few minutes.
I'm from the younger part of the family. I'm the 11th out of 12, so I missed a lot of the older years. But first off, I know that I speak for myself and all of my siblings that we're all very proud to be our father's son. We all take a lot of pride, and it makes us happy every day knowing that he was our father. In the last year, I had some problems in an apartment. Thanks to Hashgacha Pratis, I had to move out, and that brought me to live at home for the last year. And I was actually the only one out of my siblings living at home at that time, and that got me to be around my father every single day. And I got to be very, very close with him. And I would always get to walk with him to shul every week, and we would go driving, and we would do a lot of cool stuff together throughout the last year. And I'm very thankful for that, because when he fell a few weeks ago, it was just me and my mother at home. And I got to walk with him for his last walk on his 2 feet, and I got to see his last smile. And every time my father would fall or was in any pain, he would smile and say, "It's nothing." And I got to ask him, "Are you okay?" And here for the last time, I'm looking with a big smile and say, "It's okay, it's nothing," and continue walking. And that's always going to be something very special to me. So much and so little to say at the same time. I just want to thank, I'm very thankful for all the moments and experiences and memories he's taught me. And above everything, he's taught me that no matter what happens, always pick up your head and continue moving. He's been through more stuff than I know anyone has. And every time I'd walk him to shul Friday night, I see he'd have a hard time walking. When I ask him, "Are you okay?" he would try to hide it and force himself to walk straight and try to push himself to make sure I wouldn't notice any pain in him. And that's my biggest lesson I took from him, that no matter what happens, you pick yourself up, and there's more than physicality in this world, and you live and you go. And I can say that I'm proud to be his son.
My father's dentist, very emotional. He's going to share 2 minutes of some emotion. Dr. Kardansky, please.
עכשיו אני צריך לדבר איתך משהו ללכת הקים מנדל שלנו עם איחוד אחד עם רבי שלנו עם אולגהייט כי מנדל שלנו Mendel Shalano. I'm so happy that they be talk. Mendel Shalano is very difficult for you Hasidim to explain, because he was above and beyond of all of you, because he understood true Pintalayid. And what is it to understand the Pintalayid? It is to find the Jewish soul and bring it up and bring it closer to Hashem. And that's what he devoted his life to. Mendel is not any one of us. Mendel is above and beyond. Mendel is a soul that lived here to bring Erbishter, and of course Rabbi Shalanu, Kol Echad. But Mendel was an exceptional Yid. Mendel was a Yid that didn't care for anything or anybody. He only cared for a Yiddish Sachen. Mendel identified Yid within you. He didn't care. He didn't care. They had a family, they had a wife, they had 12 children. He didn't care about anything, because he would put that all at rest just to bring one Yiddish soul true to life for Erbishter. That's Mendel. Mendel was a luminary. He was a light, okay, that regardless of the fact that he's got everything that's happening around him, within his family and within his community, he was going to drop it all and give it to me, okay? A Pintalayid that needs to be inspired. He didn't care. All he wanted to do is lift my soul up and teach me and make me do mitzvahs. That's Mendel Shalanu. Mendel Shalanu was light. He was light of Erbishter. He was light of everything. Like, what am I going to tell you? Like all these people told you. And like I knew Mendel before he was too young to be my teacher. I knew Mendel before he had any children. He was a child here at the Free. You know, and yet I recognize it because his soul always shined. His soul always shined. It didn't shine for him. It didn't shine for his family. It shined for Klal Yisrael. His soul always shined for us, Klal Yisrael. Mendel Shalanu. I'm sorry, I'm shedding tears. I should be happy because I wasn't your birthday. It wasn't your birthday, you were only 70. And I spoke to you. And I told Mendel. Mendel? I spoke to Mendel on his birthday.
אתה מתלבט איך להגיע למקום פלוני, והוא מיד מתניע את הרכב ואומר לך, בהשגחה פרטית אני צריך להגיע לאזור, בוא. או סתם שיחה של רעים, והוא מבין שיש איזה מאכל אהוב עליך, למחרת זה כבר אצלך בצלחת, הוא כבר מסדר את זה. כזה היה מנדל. אז אומנם הוא לא נמצא בגוף גשמי, אבל השאיר מורשת. השאיר מורשת לכם, לנו ולכל מי שמכיר אותו. מורשת של אמור מעט ועשה הרבה. מורשת של הווה מקבל את כל אדם בסבר פנים יפות. מורשת של אהבת ישראל אמיתית. מורשת של חסיד שכל כולו טוב עם החיוך הנצחי. אני מציע לכולם, מציע לעצמי, ומאחל לקחת מהמורשת הזאת לחיי יום יום, אני בטוח שהוא שם מלמעלה, מתפלל עליכם. תהיו חזקים, תחזקו את אמא, את האמא הנפלאה שלכם.
כשאני חושב על מנדל, אני רואה נגד עיניי דמות של חסיד מאיר פנים, מלא מרץ, שמחה וחיות. אין לי ספק שמנדל יצעד בקרוב ממש, בשורה הראשונה כשמשיח יבוא. יהי זכרו ברוך.
מנדל, הינו סמל עבור כולנו, שמלוא הביטול ומסירות לרבי ולזולת, וליבנו נקרע על אובדנו שאין לו נוחם. יהי רצון שקוים בקרוב הקיצו ורבנו שוכני עפר. ומחה השם אלוקים דמעה מעל כל פנים.
In just a few short moments, we're going to have a Siyum Mishnayos. One of my father's former students, Beryl Wilson, took upon himself to study the entire Shishay Siddur Mishnah in his memory. He's going to be doing a Siyum virtually. So before that, we're going to ask my brother Levi, spend so much time and dedication and energy, my father's healing, the best son a person can wish for. I'm going to ask him to come and share a few words, please.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to take a moment and thank you all for your efforts to coming tonight, Erev Pesach, dedicating this time to remember my father. It's nothing less or more than devastating that he's a memory at this point, and hearing all night memories. I just wanted to express on behalf of myself and my siblings that in this year of saying Kaddish and his soul elevating from this physical world, from the world of Yesh and Gashmi into the world of Ruach. It's going to be definitely mine and my siblings' work to find how he's still with us, even though he's not with us in the physical. And we're going to learn a lot about that in this year. I definitely didn't prepare a speech in principle because I just can't prepare a speech for such a gathering. So I just want to share some words from heart and speak the way to each and every one of us that have our elders around to really understand that you don't really know what you have until you don't have it. And here we're going to learn that we still have it, hopefully, in this year of Avelos. I know that my father was a Chassidish Yid and a devoted Chassid. And I have a karas hatov to the Ribbon Shalom, to the Creator and Master of the world, for making me and all of his children be born to him, and for every moment of cherished life that we share together. You know, sometimes I'm davening for the Amud, and I'm finishing to daven, and I say to God, just align me with my Father's will. And I know that his will was God's will, was the Creator's will. And even though he's a Chassidish Yid, to me he was a Yid Tzaddik as well, as other people have mentioned. I see his tzidkus, I see his righteousness, I see his yashrus, his way he carried himself, his way he shared himself. We've heard a lot from other people that have experienced him, and as family, we've experienced it times 1,000,000. In all the years that he's been so dedicated to the cause of Oil David and of the memorial of his father that was murdered. Not for 1 second were his children neglected in all of this. On the contrary, we were a part of it. He promoted us to be his counselors, his helpers. Even though we weren't capable yet, we were young, but he put us in leadership roles as a young child. The most colorful childhood with all of his students, the Shabbos clubs, the Shabbaton, the skiing trips, the ice skating trips, all of this amazingness that he's provided for the students of Free and for the Russian youth. We were very fortunate to be Yeshiva Bachram that had an incredible, colorful childhood. It was a fun, creative childhood, yet doing the Rebbe's work, shlichus, doing God's work. I remember one time we went to Hunter Mountains for a skiing trip, and early morning he woke me up. He said, "We're going to go to the mikveh." And we walked down for like 15, 20 minutes. And there was no water, it was all ice, and he broke it. I got undressed, but he didn't let me go in, but he jumped in the water. And that's just the Mesiras Nefesh that he comes from. So before Albert compared my father to a hero, he's definitely my hero. I definitely see this childhood of his, of Mesiras Nefesh, to being the motherboard of his life, and the statement of what he lived for and what he died for, which was to spread Judaism, to have pride for Judaism, for Jewish roots or the Jewish ancestry, and it's it's hard to think of him as an ancestor with the ancestors. I liked what Rabbi said before, the beautifulness of his name with today's date, with the Mittler Rebbe, with Tzemach Tzedek. In the later years, I got to take care of him with his health, and I wanted to express something that I've noticed in him. So he was a hero in this way that he was a first responder for God's work, and he gave his all, his fullest dedication, his fullest heart for his family and for all of his extended family. Everybody, all of his students and all of the participants of Free were absolutely family to us in our childhood and in our development. So much I've learned from this way of life, how to open up family, how to share with others like you share with your family. In the later years, I got to take care of him and help usher him back into his health and just be his best of stability for him and his shakiness. And I just wanted to express that as a young man, me and a lot of my friends, a lot of times we get a little disappointment with a relationship, a work relationship, an intimate relationship, and it knocks us out. Depression, sadness, life on life's terms, the toll that life takes on us. And in this level, he's my biggest hero. That he's a man that could have had many tinnitus and many complaints of the physical suffering that he's gone through with his Parkinson's, with the strokes. Never have I seen one complaint. I never seen him have one tinnitus, not to God, not to life. He loved life. After this final stroke that he had, his left hand was paralyzed, and I remember he was training himself to touch his pinky and each finger, and the work that it took for each finger to activate it, to make patterns in the brain for there to be new movement. And how I was there watching him and the progress, and I realized how much my father really loves life and how much I can learn from that. Obviously, I learned from losing life how precious life is, but from his love for life and how much he fought every day with not one complaint. Never did I hear him say, "Why is God doing this to me?" Never did I hear him, I have tinnitus on God, but he's the one that could have had, and I never saw that. And that way, he's a hero, that he, in a certain way, he lived and suffered, I think, for his family and loved ones not to have to suffer. It's very sad that he's the youngest of his siblings and the first to go. So I just wanted to say that to me, he's my hero, and to lots of others as well. I just want to thank the Creator for his life. I'm very thankful to come of his seed and to try to come, if I can come to his ankles in this lifetime, would be beyond honorary. At the end, I think he won, seeing all of his children davening with him 3 times a day with the minyan. It's not like we want to, but this is what we're doing for him, because if I would have been gone, he would have done that for me. So that's how I'm doing for him. But at the end, he won, because this is one thing that he would have literally died to see in this lifetime, is his children growing beards and his kids davening 3 times a day. I think he would have given all of his life for that. So on that level, he won, and I also have relief that he's not suffering. He had lots of years of great struggle. So in that level, I'm relieved. And I'm here in the shul that he dedicated his life to, and asking the Creator to please please connect us with his spirit, with his ruach, with his neshama. It's the hard way that I'm forced to learn that he was never his body. His body was just his vehicle, but his spirit of life, his love for life is him, his neshama, his soul that touched so many souls. And that's our work as a family now, is to connect with he was so out of all of his life was out of his body, was all his soul and his spirit for everything that he's done. So I pray and ask of the Ribbon Shalom to connect me and my siblings with his ruach of kedusha, with his ruach of Chaim that was with him, with his neshama. And that my prayer is that just like the Rebbe said on his father, that his father was with Rabbi Seinu Nesienu in Gan Eden, my prayer is that he's there with Rabbi Seinu Nesienu and really shopping nachas and cashing in what he would have really loved to see. So thank you all for coming, and may he be a good better for us, and be poil all good for us from above. It's sad, but a blessing to have an ally above there now with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Levi Yitzchak. We're going to ask my sister Mushki to share a couple words, real brief, and then we're going to go on to a Siyum Mishnayos.
As Levi said, it's not something that you could prepare to speak. So I just want to share from my heart. I guess, Tati, you could hear me. Thank you for being the best father. I'm going to just try to be like you. Every night when I put my kids to sleep, I think of you. When I sometimes raise my voice or don't behave the way you would, I think of you, and Shmuley reminds me to be like you. And I'm going to encourage my siblings to be like you, because, yeah, no better parents. Thank you, Mommy. You should live many, many healthy years, and I have a lot to live up to. I just want to share about my father's speech. I was, I guess, privileged to type it up for him. I thought I was going to have to give him some inspiration and give him ideas of what to speak about for his birthday, but instead I sat by the computer and just typed up everything that he said on the phone. Every word of his speech was from his mouth. It was his ideas. And at his birthday speech, out of his impromptu words, completely spontaneous, while he was speaking about his work, his holy work, he looked up at the crowd and said, "I'm not retiring yet." I was shocked, and I'm sure everybody else was blown away. And I honestly thought he was giving us another at least 70 years of life. And then in the hospital, when I was there and I was by my father's side, I wasn't sure what was going on because I was staying with my father, and David came in crying and said, "Ty, you said you're not retiring yet." And I didn't understand what was going on yet. Later, I understood what was, that the doctors were kind of giving up. And this was, these are the words that I had to process when my father said, "I'm not retiring yet," because to me, that's what stood out. And the past, month, I've been processing, and I feel like his speech was his will to us, to his kids, to his students, to his family. And I'm asking everyone, I'm speaking to myself, I guess his not retiring is he's speaking to us and saying that he's not going to retire because we're going to continue the work for him. He gave us a lot, he taught us a lot, and he's somehow magically going to show me that he's with us and going to give us the strength, but we are going to continue for him. That could be in many different ways. That could be, thank God I teach, and he was able to see me teach, and that's what he did, and I feel very proud of that. Not everybody does that, but if we can continue with his smile, we can continue with his acts of kindness, helping people, bringing people closer to Judaism, or with, just bringing a person closer, by a kind word, with a kind gesture. So I guess that's what he meant when he said, "I'm not retiring yet." So if everyone can in their own way, carry on my father's legacy through not retiring. I would appreciate it, my mother would appreciate it, and my siblings would, and my father is going to be smiling down at us. So, l'chaim to my father not retiring.
I think for me, the biggest lesson that I take is just to speak less and to do more. I think everybody knows that my father was not a big speaker. He spoke beautifully and was very charismatic, but didn't use many words. He was very selective with every word. Every word meant something tremendous. And if he said anything to you, you took it seriously because he really was selective with his words. And even with so little words, he managed to teach me that the way that resonates with me is the way of the heart. And I learned that with him and his partnership with my mother, from both my parents. The way of the heart. And that's what I take with me. Thank everybody for being here.
Rabbi Beryl Wilson, which studied the whole Shas for us. I can do the siyum myself, but I only did one Masechta. I'm going to ask him to finish. He finished Mishnah. It's going to take 5 minutes to get him on. We're going to play a few more short clips of his students speaking at his birthday, showing their Baruch. Okay, sorry, Baruch's going to speak. Youngest.
I don't have too many words to share. A few weeks ago, right before his birthday, I called him up and I asked him, what does he think about the situation in Ukraine? And he was someone that cared about every single person and every single Yid, obviously. And he was very, very taken back about the situation. And but he didn't really say anything. Usually he would be quiet for a couple of seconds and then he wouldn't either. I would ask him again and then maybe he would answer or he wouldn't answer. After a couple of seconds, he's like, it's a sign that Mashiach is coming. Mashiach is right here and we're at the end. And that's what we're holding. That was from the last words that I heard from him. Unfortunately, being the youngest, I didn't really have too much of his healthy days with him. Ever since, at least I remember, he had Parkinson's. It was after the accident. But I'm very happy. I'm glad. I'm thankful to Hashem that I got to spend those days with him and all my siblings and my mother, and continue to. Even though we don't see him, we're going to keep on exactly what he does. and we're going to make him more proud than he has ever been. After his stroke, I called him earlier this year. Actually, I came back to New York. I was on the way to Ukraine. I went to do a camp for the Not From kids over there. He was very proud of that. And he was having a very hard time walking. So I looked at him, I was like, Todd, next time I come back, I want to dance with you. And he looked at me with a smile, and then I left. I came back for his birthday. I was zeicher to be there. And Motzei Shabbos was when his birthday started, so I was in a very high spirit. I was very excited, and I was just dancing and singing. And on the way back from Shul, probably for the last 3 blocks, he had a very hard time walking after. He was very shaky, but he just started dancing with me and singing with me all the way home. And he looked at me with a huge smile, and I knew exactly what he meant. He's like, you asked for it, this is what I'm going to give you back. And he was always like that. One time I was skiing with him, and I hit a bump. He was a good skier, but fortunately the Parkinson's took over his left part of his body and shook him up a lot. So I guess his left side, maybe his left foot stopped. He lost control and he was about to fall. And we both got eye contact. He looked at me with a huge smile. I went flying at the bump. He went flying, and we both landed with a huge smile. That was the point that he always let off. It's always got, it's got to be with happiness. As all my siblings said, it's got to be more done than spoken. And on that, I don't really have much words. Ty, I can't wait to see you again. Mashiach now.
I want to thank you, Tafi, for Rabbi Mendel, for being Rabbi Mendel of my childhood, and giving me and all of our children, all of my siblings, such a colorful. Moshe wants to say Mazel Tov.
I know Rabbi Mendel Okunov for basically my entire conscious life. I met him when I was, I believe, 6 years old. And from this day, he became a very special man in my life. He was very much more than just a teacher, very much more than just a principal. He took an active role in raising me, my brother, helping our family, helping every single person that he has ever encountered. When I just came to the yeshiva, I was a very shy little boy who was perhaps scared even of his own shadow. And Rabbi Okunov took me under his wing, let me follow him around. He was a very busy man, extremely busy. Everyone was always pulling him from side to side, asking him to help him with this. And because he has such a kind heart, he was actually helping everybody. Not just me, but he let me literally hold his pants leg and walk around with him. And then took me to his yeshiva and to his camp, and I will forever be more than grateful. Rabbi Okunov, the best word I can describe to you of how I feel is I love you. I love you with all my heart. There is no better word in the language perhaps that could have been invented, but I truly love you. And I believe I speak for many of my classmates, for many people that know you. We respect you with all our heart. We love you with all our heart. And we only wish that may Hashem bless us with many, many more good birthdays. L'chaim.
Baruch Hashem, I'm about Shuvah today. I'm married about Shuvah. My wife is about Shuvah also, and my son is, I would say, first generation for a very long time from birth. And, if it wasn't for this movement, if it wasn't for the Okunov family, they're definitely a big part of it. And I'm probably not the only one, so you guys, we're considered like your children, and you definitely have a lot of children than the children that you have now. And my son, I would say, is your grandson as well. And if it wasn't for you, you know, you planted so many seeds. We are your seeds.
I just wanted to let you know that for us, you are Rabbi Mendel, and for us, when we see you, you are still that person, that young person, that vibrant person that tells us to do what we need to do and we do it. And why we do it? Because Rabbi Mendel said so. Is there a question? No questions. Rabbi Mendel said so. And we're going to continue doing it, and that's how we see you. You are a rabbi, you're Rabbi Mendel, and because Rabbi Mendel said so, we're going to do it. Rabbi Mendel, lots of health to you. We shall meet only in symptoms.
I can 100% say that I learned more about Judaism, more about Derech Eretz, more about anything in that 1 year of yeshiva that I was there in 2006. I got the opportunity to become from camper all the way to camp counselor to David Okunov's assistant head counselor at some point. And I really want to say that, you know, it is very hard to measure your results when you're in the yeshiva business, and I think that this room is a testament to those results.
My family was in Italy for quite a bunch of time, and I came here. I was supposed to go in 4th grade, and my parents were like thinking, where should we send them? Public school or yeshiva? And they decided, Baruch Hashem, to send me to the Valley Yeshiva in Ocean Parkway. Because of many circumstances, the Shkoch brothers, that Rabbi Mendel was there, and I remember that I was supposed to go to 4th grade and ended up keep going back to 3rd grade because of my lack of English. And I remember just Rabbi Mendel, I started crying outside because I was so upset about going back a grade. And I remember Rabbi Mendel just staying there and calming me down. He said, it's going to be okay, everything's going to be fine. And such kindness radiated from him. This just ingrained in my memory. And ever since then, you know, it was just one thing after another. He was really like a father figure for me, and guided me through the whole of my Baal Teshuva experience in Valley Yeshiva, and that stayed with me 300%, and molded me into what I am today. And because of him, you know, I have what I have now. Baruch Hashem, my whole family is from, and my children, I'm sending them actually to, this year, B'ez Hashem, they're going to go to Camp Menachem, like a continuation of the camp that I went to, in some sense. So, continuing the legacy, and thank you so much for the Mendel.
I met you first time at the Grand Israel camp. It was 1981. And my road separated from you for many years. And life is very interesting. This was 25 years ago. И Мендел звонит и говорит: Лёва, я говорю, да, я тебе напоминаю, что у Фили будет yortzeit in 4 days. Not everyone can say when they have a friend to be a tzaddik. Я могу это с гордостью сказать, что Раб Мендел is a tzaddik. Это его.
I came as a young boy, before his marriage, and I got no Okunovs. I went to the camp, and then as a camper, and then I went to school, to free school. So I grew up like you guys did, enjoying the Russian friends, and it was wonderful. And then I became a teacher, I became a counselor in camp, and I worked with Mendel along with all these Shabbatons.
Hello.
So we now have Rabbi Beryl Wilson. He's going to conclude the Mishnah. I'll say the siyum together with him, and then All my siblings are invited to please join us in Kaddish together.
Hello, I can hardly hear you.
We hear you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So I'm going to complete the last Mishnah of Uksin, which is part of the Seder Taharas, which is part of the Seder Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Osher Kodesh Baruch Hu Kil Lachol Tzadik Tzadik Shalosh Meyos VaSora Orlamois Shenemar Lahankil Havai Ash VaSoroi Sehem Baalei. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Havasa. Loi Motza Kodesh Baruch Hu Kli Machazik Brachot L'Yisrael Ela HaSholem Shenemar Adnois Lamon Yifen Adonai Borach Esamon VaShalom. Haron Allah Kader L'Taharet L'Shita Sidrei Mishnah. Haron Allah V'dayt Allah L'Seder Taharet L'Shita Sidrei Mishnah. V'dayt Allah L'An Nishdishei Mano Seder Taharet L'Shita Sidrei Mishnah. La Sishnei Manon La B'Ma Hadein La B'Ma L'Tei. Haron Allah Seder Taharet L'Shita Sidrei Mishnah. Hadron Allah Allah Seder Taharet L'Shita Sidrei Mishnah. وتعلم الله روح الشيء نعرف هذا الرئيس شيء في المشنة والله اثنين منا وما هذين الله وما كرتين هذا الله تدرب تهارس وشيء سدر المشنة وهذا الله شذا الله تدرب تهارس وشيء سدر المشنة بدأت الله اثنين منا تدرب تهارس وشيء سدر المشنة والله اثنين منا الله وما هذين الله وما كرتين هربنا دنا هنا هذه رأي فراسة في عم قبل إسراء إيه الكلام نقطة سين البيت عم قبل إسراء هنا يدي شمخة وبيت ثلاثة وسماء مع غاية خميني بس وسخة كي للام هي دين الصديق عقل لمان لا يبويش للام لا شكاف كذا كي وام ثاني بارو قطع دنور مديني كيف أمين سلوات Moide anila pone kod nola havel havasai to the santo hokeim sveis with Mohamedrosh Lois santo hokeim sveis Sarnois Tani Mashkim Lahem Mashkim Ali Mashkim Lidivray Sora Lahem Mashkim Lidivray Bekalim Ani Amel Lahem Melim Ani Amel Gabel For Lahem Amalim Vainom Gablim سفر أني روس وهم روسهم أني روس وخير هم أبو وهم روسهم شخص تمام وهذا وهم تريدين غير شخص شيء دومهم ومرمو الله يخصو يمهم وأني وتاخ خاف يهرسون فنقد الله فهذا سايك فيمش ثاني سيم سدر الدخول اسمه سدر المشنا كين تسيني للزيريو سدريم وهريم يامو والمويد والميد وذكره هربوا وشمور وصيف وسيم أسكول دبري صلموت شرطة بحاوة وشوز كول هترميين وصلميدي سهخونم وحميكوريم وسيدر هوريس وشيكا سدري مشنا وخول هترميين وشلام تأتي يامويد لي وزري زاري وشلوية سموش هتريرو הקודש ומפי זרי מעטו בדלום היום בי רוב פסוק בהשכלתו תפנה הסוף ושמור עליך וכתף כי יבוא עמך וסיפור לכל שמועד חיים לך ימים במינו בשבילה יותר כבוד אז לא יזלמו יותר לחדו ועצום שלוים.
יסקדל ויסקדה שמי רבו ואומו דברו חירוסי וימלך מלכוסי ויצמח ברקוני וקורא משיחי וחיי חיינו וימי חיינו וחי לכל בית ישראל בעגולו בזמן קורי ואמרמן והי שמי רבו מבורך לעולם ולא מלמיו יסבורך וישתבח ויספור וישרום ויסנסי ויסדור ויסעלה ויסעלוש מלכות בריחו אלו מכל ברכוסו ושירוסו וברכוסו ונחמוסו אמירם ואומו ואמרמן על ישראל ורבונו ועל תמיד ואין וכל תמיד יסמידן Kol monde osim erais odi vas roden du khalasar vasar Yei loin elochoin shlomar rabba chino v'chizda v'rachamin v'chayin anichin v'zoyin v'vicha v'frkona min kodem u'vin b'shmaya v'im ramein Yei shlomar rabba min shmaya v'chaim teiv maleinu v'al kol Yisroel v'im ramein Thank you, everybody, for joining us at this beautiful, memorable event for my father. May his memory be a continual living legacy. May we continue to carry on his life. We have big shoes to fill, but we have to do it. And now we can continue Farbringen and sitting down for Farbringen. L'chaim, Akosher Frilach and Pesach to everybody. Thank you, Rabbi Wilson.